Hello student, today we are going to learn difference between fire tube boiler and water tube boilers. Comparison between fire tube boiler and water tube boiler. Left side fire tube boiler, right side water tube boiler. Number 1, in fire tube boiler, the hot flue gases pass through inside the tube and water is surrounding the tubes. That means fire tube boiler are those boilers in which hot gases produced by the conversion of fuel in the boiler furnace while on their way to chimney pass through a number of tubes which are immersed in water. Okay. Water tube boiler, water passes through inside the tube and hot flue gases are outside. That means water tube boilers are those boilers in which water flow through a number of tubes called water tube and the hot gases produced by the conversion of fuel in the boiler furnace while on their way to chimney pass through the water tube. Okay. Number 2, example of fire tube boiler: Lancashire boiler, locomotive boiler, Cochrane boiler, Cornish boiler, etc. Number 2, for water tube boiler, example Babcock and Wilcox boiler, Stirling boiler, etc. Number 3, for fire tube boiler, it is generally internally fired. Internally fired means when the furnace of the boiler is inside its dome or shell, the boiler is called internally fired boiler. Number 3, for water tube boiler, it is generally externally fired. Externally fired means if the furnace is outside the dome, the boiler is called externally fired. Water tube generally externally fired. Okay. Number 4, fire tube boiler operating pressure limited to 20 bar. These are operated at low pressure up to 20 bar. Water tube boiler can work under as high pressure as 250 bar, the working pressure is high enough up to 250 bar in supercritical boiler. Okay. Number 5, for fire tube boiler, rate of steam production and quality of steam are low. For water tube boiler, rate of steam production and quality of steam are better. Steam can be rise quickly in water tube boiler without any difficulty. Okay. Number 6, for fire tube boiler, not suitable for power plant. It is not suitable for power generation. It is mainly used in engine operation in process industry. Water tube boiler suitable for power plant. Water tube boiler for power generation, mainly used in large power plant. Okay. Number 7, in fire tube boiler, for a given power, it occupies more floor area. For water tube boiler, for a given power, it occupies less floor area. The floor space required for installation of a water tube boiler is less than that of fire tube boiler for the same power of the boiler. Number 8, for fire tube boiler, less initial cost but cost per unit power generation is more. For water tube boiler, initial cost is very high but cost per unit is low. Okay. Number 9, for fire tube boiler, treatment of feed water not so necessary. In fire tube boiler, the treatment of feed water not very essential, as overheating due to scale formation cannot burst the thick wall. Okay. Number 9, for water tube boiler, treatment of feed water more necessary. In water tube boiler, treatment of feed water is very essential, as small scale deposit inside the tube, scale formation inside the tube can cause overheating and bursting. Okay. Number 10, for fire tube boiler, it involves less risks on explosion due to low pressure. Number 10, for water tube boiler, it involves more risks on bursting due to high pressure. Okay. In fire tube boiler, number 11, its overall efficiency may be up to 70%. Number 11, for water tube boiler, its overall efficiency may be up to 90%. Okay. It is clear, my student? Thank you.